guys, welcome back for episode number 111 of the weekly playback. And yes, I got a haircut, and yes, it is way too short. Like, it's a bit shorter than I would like. So I am someone who really cannot stand long hair. So I'm gonna go off on a topic that has nothing to do with board games, so you can skip this if you want. So I hate long hair. So like the longest my hair ever was maybe down to here when I was in law school. And now when I look back at photos of me in law school with that long hair, I'm like, I do not understand how I put up with that hair, because I cannot stand long hair now. Like ever since law school, I can't stand long hair. I think that was the only time in my life where for some reason, whatever reason, I was able to put up with it. But now I really hate it. Like I hate long hair, and I hate seeing human hair on the floor. I hate seeing it in the tub. So as soon as I shower, I have to like remove any hair that is, you know, in the drain. As soon as I style my hair and brush it, I have to remove any hair that's in the sink and on the floor. Like I cannot stand seeing a single strand of hair on the floor. Like I am very obsessive compulsive about it. Like it's something that really drives me insane. And if a single strand of hair falls on my arm, I will feel it. Like I can feel a single strand of hair on my arm, and it drives me insane. So yeah, so you know, I like to keep my hair short. But this is a little bit shorter than I would have liked, but it'll grow out. You know, there's not much I can do in order to tame it right now. So I have naturally wavy and curly hair. Like if I had a bit longer hair and I just completely let it air dry, you would see curls in the front and like waves in the back. Like that's what my hair is naturally like. So yeah, so you know, I can't really do much to tame this short hair at the moment. I did try blow drying it a bit to try to tame my bangs, but it's just, yeah, it's just a little bit of a mess right now. So it'll be like this for a few weeks until it starts to grow out a bit. But yeah, if you wonder why you never see me with long hair, that's why, because I really, really hate it. Like I just cannot stand long hair. But on the plus side, it's, you know, short hair like this, super easy to shampoo, like just super quick, just very nice, and just super easy to brush through. So yeah, so I like that. So anyway, enough about my hair, about human hair in general. So I played a number of games. Some of them were, excuse me, some of them were repeats. So I won't go into too much detail about the repeats. And then I did play a new game, which is coming to Kickstarter on July 16th, which I will show you in the new arrival section, but I'm actually gonna hold off on talking about how it plays until later, because I want to get in a bigger player count game of it before I talk about how it plays. But yeah, so let's just get started. Let's talk about Forever Home. So this is a 2023 game for 1 to 5 players, designed by Lottie Hazel, or Hazel maybe, and Jack Hazel, and the art is done by Dan May and Dominique Vassy. Or is that Vassal? I can't tell. My eyesight is really not the greatest. And it's published by Birdwood Games. So this is a review copy that I received from Birdwood Games. I don't know why they didn't call themselves Dogwood Games, or like doggy games or something like that, because so far all the games they've published have to do with dogs, not birds. So yeah, so maybe missed opportunity there. It may be a missed opportunity that they should have called this Forever Home, F-U-R-E-V-E-R, Forever Home instead of Forever Home. But anyway, another missed opportunity for them. So this is a like a abstract game with saving dogs theme. So really, I mean, I suppose it could have been about, you know, different topics. I suppose it could have been about another theme, because really it is an abstract game at its heart. So you're going to have open drafting and pattern building and set collection in this game. So each person is going to have a doggy training area where, and I'll go into how you get pieces and put them down here. And then you're going to be moving up dogs that you've trained up into various sections like the city, suburbs, countryside, or foster home. So that is going to be each player's board, and there is a more advanced side. I played with the basic side. And then at the top, you are going to have this like objective scoring thing. So you're going to have this board, and there are some doggy meeples, and you will randomly place the meeples onto the various sections. And then those dogs that you have in those sections will give you different scoring objectives based on the colors that they are. And then at the top of the board, there are going to be even some other objectives. or scoring conditions that you'll be meeting. So there's going to be one foster home, and for every dog you have in your foster home, you will simply get 1 point. So you'll look here, and for every dog you have in your foster home, you'll get 1 point. Then you're going to pick one city card out of the 2 that are available. So, and then that will tell you based on how many dogs you have of different colors, how many points you'll get. So I don't know why there's like 2 different city cards. I wonder if maybe one is for solo play and one is for advanced play, but yeah, there's 2 different city cards, and it's interesting because one of them requires fewer dogs and will give you fewer points, and one of them requires more dogs but will give you more points. But essentially you just want dogs of different colors in your city on your board in order to score that many points. So that is the city card. And then the suburb cards, you have a number of choices to pick from. So, you know, those will just show you like different kinds of dogs. So for example, this one will show you if you have like, you know, these dogs, you'll get 8 or 6 points. If you have just a blue and a red, you'll get 3. If you have just a red, you'll get 1. So again, you're going to look at what you have in your suburbs to determine what you're going to score for your suburbs. So you'll have 1 suburb card, and then you'll have 1 countryside card, and that, you know, will be determined based on whether you have similar dogs, different dogs, and so on, and that will, you know, tell you how many points you will get for that. So you're going to have, you know, 1 scoring card for each of those locations that everyone will be scoring by at the end of the game. And then you're going to have these training cards. So you're going to have training cards on display for you to choose from. And above those training cards, you will have some doggy tokens. So 1 token above each card. And these will get replaced as soon as you take one, if you take one for your action. So for your action, you will get 2 actions per turn. So you can either take 1 dog card, which is on display. You can take 1 dog token, which is on display, or you can move 1 dog on your board. And you're reminded of the actions here, which I did not notice until just now, to be honest. So when I was playing the game, I didn't even realize that the actions were right there. Like they were literally right in front of my face, but for whatever reason, I didn't see them. So I kept on referring to the rule book just in case I forgot what an action was. So yeah, so if you have dogs, you're going to take a dog. So you'll take a dog token, and you do start with, I believe, 2 tokens. At least in my 2-player game, we each started with 2 tokens. So on your turn, you can either move a dog somewhere in your training field. You could take a card that's on display, which will give you some kind of an objective that you're trying to meet, and you're trying to get dogs in the position based on that card. Or you can take a dog token, which you then immediately place onto your board. So again, there will be some dog tokens on display, and the cards and tokens get replenished immediately in case you decide to take the same action twice. So you're trying to move tokens around on your board and get them in position so that you can meet these cards and score them. So for example, you know, each black dog with a white background or off-white background, cream background will be the same type of color dog, and then, you know, the opposite, you know, you'll need. So that just shows you that you're going to need 2 different colored dogs, but 2 of them for that one type and then 3 of them for the other type. And X's mean that that space has to be blank, and so on. So you're just trying to, you know, it's a spatial puzzle. So you're trying to move around dog tokens and get them into position so that you can score these cards. When you score a card, then you can home however many dogs are shown in the doghouse. So for example, for this one, you know, if you scored this card, it required 5 dogs in order to be scored, but only 2 of them will be homed. So then you'll decide where on your board you want to place those dogs up in the home area. And again, you'll look at the different scoring objectives, the cards, as well as this to determine where you want to home your dogs. The game will end once someone has completed 7 cards, 7 training cards, and then you'll make sure that everyone has had the same number of turns. So if there's a player who still needs to take a turn, they'll get to take a turn, and then the game will immediately end. And then you will score points for all of the cards you completed. So each card has a number of points on the bottom. And then again, you'll score according to this board and according to the cards that were out on display. So for example, the person who had the most dogs of whatever color was sitting here, Meeple, will get 3 points in training. So that means that they're still on the field. So I believe I scored for that. So like it was lime colored dogs, I believe. So I had the most lime colored dogs when I played. There was a lime meeple here, and I still had the most lime dogs in my training field. So I scored 3 points. And then I believe the next one was red, and I also scored, I believe, the most points for that as well. So yeah, so you're just going to look at the different colored dog meeples on here and score your dogs according to that. And then you're going to look at the cards and score points according to the cards, and then whoever has the most points will win. So it's a super easy game. It's just a spatial puzzle game with a dog theme. I suppose you could have done it with cats too, except you can't really train cats. So I guess that, you know, that's kind of why they went with dogs, and I guess they just really, really love dogs. These tokens are really nice. They're nice and thick tokens. So yeah, and the dog art is cute. So if you like dogs and you like spatial puzzles, I think that this is a game you would enjoy. So yeah, so nice hefty tokens in this bag, which is nice as well. And it comes with a score pad. So I was hoping I would get one more turn because I would have scored more points if I'd gotten one more turn, but unfortunately I did not, so I lost. So the winner had 23 points and I had 16. So yeah, so I think that this is a good game. You know, I think you can play this at any player count. I don't think it makes a difference. Like, I don't think it's gonna be better at 4 than 2, for example. I think it'll play just the same. This is the kind of game that I think you can enjoy at any player count. So yeah, so if you like spatial puzzle games, if you like abstract games, I think you like dogs, then I would check this out if I were you. I would like to play the reverse side at some point and see how that changes up the game. I suppose that if you have a dog there, then maybe it gives you some special ability. Like this one, it looks like maybe you can swap a dog or something like that. I don't know. So yeah, so I'll find out how the advanced shelter plays at some point and maybe try that out. So yeah, so thank you again to Birdwood Games for sending me a copy of Forever Home. So let's move on. So I already talked about this game in my last video in detail, how to play it, but I played a 2-player game of this recently. So this is Cities by Philip Walker Harding and Steve Finn, and the art is done by Jorge Tabanera, and it's published by Luthier Games, and it is for 2 to 4 players. So previously, when I played this game and talked about how to play it in my last video, I played it at 4 players. This time I played it at 2 players, with New York City being the city for the public achievements. So I will say that this game definitely plays better at 4 players. So at 2 players, you're going to use all 8 meeples instead of just 4, and it'll still play over 4 rounds instead of 8 rounds. So you're going to have 2 meeples per row. So in this game, you're going to take 2 of everything in a round. So you'll take 2 city tiles. You'll end up getting 2 gold cards. You'll end up getting 2 sets of buildings. You'll end up getting 2 sets of feature tiles. So in a, oh, Toffee's here. So in a 2-player game, you know, I feel like you're not as constrained. You have way more options available. So it doesn't make it as tense. It doesn't make it as tense or as tight of a game. So in that sense, I think it's not as enjoyable. Like, for example, for most of the game, I was the first player. Like, my opponent just, you know, kept on leaving that for me. He kept on taking what he wanted. I kept on ending up getting the first player token to draw tiles from the bag. And it just wasn't like he even cared that he was not going to be first player. Like, he did not feel stressed about it at all. And in fact, he won. So, you know, so I think at 2 players, it's just not as good of a game as it is at 4 players. I haven't played it at 3 players yet, so I can't say how it plays at 3 players, but I imagine at 3 players, it's also probably better than at 2 players. So I would not recommend this for a 2-player game. And I know I mentioned in my last video that I was maybe going to make up my own solo mode and see how that plays. Having now played this at 2 players, now I'm kind of like, would a solo mode be good? I don't know. I really don't know. So, you know, I can see why there's no solo mode now after having played it at 2 players. So yeah, so if you do like city building games, and I did mention that this is a really fun one, I do think it's going to be more fun at higher player counts. So that is something to keep in mind. So yeah, so I got in another play of cities, and maybe I'll get in another play at 3 players and then be able to compare it at all different player counts. And someone from Luthier Games did comment on my last video. This will be available at Gen Con and then after Gen Con. So this will be released next, well, is today July yet? Are we in July yet? I think we're still in June. I don't know. But yeah, so it'll be released in August in the US and elsewhere. So yeah, so you can look forward to playing this in August. So let's move on. So another game I played again recently is Luthier, which is a 2025 game for 1 to 4 players designed by Dave Beck and Abe Burson. The art is done by Vincent Dutrait and it's published by Paverson Games. And this is hitting Kickstarter on July 16th. So I discussed a very detailed how to play of this game 2 videos ago. So if you want to go back to the weekly playback number 9, I think it was, 109, you can see how to play this game. And I've already created my overview video of it because I had to send this game on to another previewer, so you can look forward to my 3-minute how to play and overview video of this game, which will be released closer to the launch date of this game. So I played a 3-player game of this time, whereas last time I played a 2-player game of it, and I will say it's extremely long. Like, even despite me knowing the rules and explaining the rules to the other players, it took a very long time to play. And having now played it at 3 players, I can't imagine wanting to play it at 4, to be honest. I was originally supposed to play a 4-player game of this, but then the 4th player had to cancel his plans. And in the end, I'm like, okay, kind of grateful, because otherwise it would have been a super long game. Like, even at 3 players, it took, like, I would say maybe 4 hours, maybe a little more than 4 hours. So yeah, so very long game. So yeah, so I don't think I can recommend it at 4 players unless you don't mind playing, you know, a very, very long game, that for a game that doesn't feel like it should be that long. You know what I mean? Like, I really thought that me knowing the rules and explaining it to the other 2 people that it would not take that long to play, but I guess I was wrong. So I wonder if I had the game and I played it with the same 2 people again, how long it would take. But yeah, generally everyone liked it. Like, I don't think that they would, you know, say that it was a great game. Like, I don't think that they would rate it a 10. They did have some critiques of the game and stuff like that, which now I cannot remember, to be honest, because it's been a while. So I can't remember what their critiques were. And I do know that the designer is making some, you know, tweaks to the game here and there. So he still has some changes that he's making, especially to visually how it looks and stuff. And yeah, there, you know, one of the things I was kind of like, kind of unsure about, or, you know, maybe not super keen on, was the first chairs and the amount of effort it can take to get a first chair token out onto the orchestra. And then the payback, I feel like, is not as great in terms of points. So I feel like if you want to get points, you should try to get them elsewhere, because the first chair competition stuff also didn't seem very intuitive to me. So, you know, in this game that I played, there was more competition for first chair seats since there was 3 of us. And your repair tokens and performance tokens can also override someone's chair token, like their instrument token, depending on how many are there, which to me doesn't make sense. I feel like it takes more time and more effort to build an instrument and finish that instrument and then get that instrument token out onto the board than it does to simply repair an instrument or perform an instrument from the repair and performance sections on the board. So I think that that's something that I'm not a huge fan of, the fact that repair tokens and performance tokens kind of also vie for the first chair spot, which in the first game I played of this was not an issue because we played a 2-player game of it and we weren't really competing for the same spots. So that was a bit disappointing. Like, I had a number of tokens out on the board, but because someone else won the first chair spot, I like ended up getting like very minimal points in the end from that section of the board. Yeah, I worked so hard to get these, you know, tokens out onto the board, which just really was disappointing for me, I thought. So that was a little bit annoying for me personally, but I came in last place in my 3-player game of it. I guess that means I'm a good teacher because I taught them the game and then they still ended up beating me. So yeah, so, you know, there are some things that I could critique, but overall I think it's still a really great game, and overall I would love to play this again, but I think I will max out at 3 players for this, and ideally I think I would keep it at a 2-player game, to be honest, because it's still very enjoyable at 2 players and not as long at 2 players. So yeah, so those are my final thoughts on Luthier, which is hitting Kickstarter on July 16th. So yeah, so keep an eye out for the Kickstarter and keep an eye out for my 3-minute overview / how to play. So let's move on. So this is Yonder, which is designed by Hakan Holgarder and also illustrated by him, and it's being published by Sinister Fish Games, and it is for 1 to 4 players, and it is hitting Kickstarter on July 16th. So if you guys have been watching my content for a long time, you know that Hakan Garter is like one of my favorite designers ever. Like, I absolutely love his previous 3 games. I would rank them as Moon, Streets, and then Villagers. And this is his first like big box game, like normal sized box game, and it is a worker placement game. So I played a 2-player game of this. I'm not going to go into how it plays right now. I'm going to save that for the next video because I want to play it at a higher player count before I talk about how it plays, and then I'll also be able to compare how it plays at different player counts in the next video. But I just wanted to show off the components and everything to you guys in this video. So here is the board. So yeah, so I'm super excited for this game. I really enjoyed my 2-player game of it, and I cannot wait to talk about it in more detail and also shoot my overview video for this game. But here's the board, and just check out his artwork. I feel like his aesthetic is just super clean, and again with this, just a super clean aesthetic, like not crowded, but gets the job done and still is visually very appealing and just attractive. So there's these different ships. So each player will start with a ship. So you'll pick your ship color according to your player color and the different workers and starting resources. And then on the back, you'll see your special ability for your own ship. And I guess those are upside down, my bad. So yeah. So those are some of the starting ship tokens. And then here are some of the other ship tokens, just to give you an idea of some different ships that might come out during the game. And again, they all have abilities on the back of them. And I really love how he shows what's on the other side. So when you collect a ship token, you get a preview of what the special ability is on the back, and you see on the front what you're getting. And then when you flip it over, you will see here what you got when you collected that ship, like the different workers and stuff. So I really love that about those ships. So that is very nice. So let me just show you some of these cards, and then I'll show you some of the components. So in this game, you're going to have a bunch of different kinds of cards. You're going to have, so each person will start with their headquarters. So everyone starts with a building location in front of them, which is great. So that way, you know, because you're going to want to build during the game. So in case the building spot on the main board gets taken, you have one in front of you. And you are able to use worker spots in front of other people. But again, I'm not going to go into detail, so we can talk about that in next week's video. But let me just show you some of the cards. So these are envoy cards. So I'm starting with level C. So these are the more advanced. Now we're getting into Bs. So like these are some of the B cards, and here are some A cards. So envoys are things that you're going to want to fulfill during the game. Here are some building cards. Let me just show you some building cards. If I can actually get them in order. So A's and then B's. Okay, here we go. So again, here are the C level cards. Those will be cost a bit more to build, and you'll see the cost at the top. So C level cards are basically going to give you end of game scoring points. A lot of the B levels will give you like some worker spots or like ongoing abilities and so on. And then the A cards are like more just for like resource collection and stuff like that. Really love the aesthetic of this game. And there's some more cards here, which I just didn't show you. So yeah, there's like a whole bunch of cards in this game. So, you know, lots of variety. So when you're doing setup, you will have variety in this game. But yeah, it's just a really great worker placement game with like a fantasy theme. And let me show you the workers now, because the workers are super cool. Let me just put these cards back. So there are different kinds of workers in this game, a whole bunch of different tokens. So you have goblins. So goblins are workers that are really easy to get. And in this game, when you, if you have a worker that is left over at the end of the round, you need to feed that worker in order to then be able to use it in the next round. So goblins take 1 food at the end of a round, and they're pretty easy to get. So goblins are good workers to just basically throw away, you know, so you don't really need to worry too much about them. Elves are really great because elves are workers that can go in a spot where another worker is already present, when typically you cannot do that. They just cannot go where another elf is present, and they will also take 1 food. Skeletons are good, and I hardly used any skeletons in this game, to be honest. I don't think I used a single skeleton, in fact, but skeletons are good because they don't require any food. So if you have a skeleton left over in your settlement at the end of the round, you don't need to feed skeletons. And then we have dwarves. Dwarves are great because they get a discount of 1 material or food when you're building something. And they will require 1 food if you have a dwarf left over at the end of a round. And then finally, you have goblins. And goblins are great because if they go to a spot that generates resources, you will get double the resources. So goblins are great, but they also require double the food. So if you have a goblin left over in your settlement at the end of the round, you will need to feed each ogre. You will need to feed each ogre 2 food. So these are ogres, not goblins, my bad. So those are the different types of workers. So again, you have ogres, you have goblins, you have skeletons, you have elves, and dwarves. And again, they have different food requirements and kind of different things that they are good for. Then you have the different food items. So you have meat, which counts as 2 food. You have hay, which counts, or grain rather. You have grain, which counts as 1 food. And you have fish, which counts as 1 food. Now, the thing is, at the end of a round, if you have any meat left over, the meat gets spoiled and you lose it. So if you have meat, you definitely want to use it to feed your workers. Grain you can use to feed workers, and any grain left over you can keep because grain does not spoil. Fish, fish counts as 1 food as well, and if you have any fish left over, you are forced to sell it to the market for 1 gold. You cannot keep it. So fish will at least get you gold, which is what you need in order to win. So whoever has the most gold at the end of the game will win. The different resources are ore, hay, and wood. And these are the different resources you're going to need to build the different buildings in your settlement. And then we have Arcana, which is pretty hard to come by, but Arcana is really good for building really higher level buildings, like level C buildings in the end, and for using a certain area of the board where you can just kind of get a bonus if you are in desperate need of something. And again, I'll talk about that in detail in next week's video when I talk about how to play this in more detail. And this is gold, so you might end up acquiring gold throughout the game, and this will help you to keep track of how much you're going to go up on the gold tracker each round. So again, I'll go into detail how to play this in my next video, hopefully. If not the next video, then the video after that, because I'm not sure if I'll get in a multiplayer game of this before next weekend. Because I think my regular gaming buddies are not available still. So we'll see. So it might be the 2 videos from now. So yeah, so those are the components for Yonder, which I am super excited to have in my possession. Because I'm a huge fan of this designer, like just absolutely love his games, and I cannot wait to see what he comes out with next. And I know that this is his like latest release, and I'm already talking about what is he gonna do next. But yeah, super exciting. I'm just really excited to have this. So let me just go into some other new arrivals or games that I purchased. So this is a review copy which I had received and am creating content for. So my overview video of that will be sponsored. However, my how to play and thoughts of the game will not be sponsored. So recently the board game store which I frequent, Millennium Games, was having their big sidewalk sale. So I purchased a game which I already owned, but I wanted the new edition of it, and I'm planning on giving the old edition to my little sister who likes it, and so they can play it. However, I'm kind of mixing and matching components. So I owned Marrakech already, which is like, I think the second game I ever purchased. So bought this like many years ago, like, like it's probably over 10 years old. So very easy to play game in which you're like moving around this carpet seller, rug seller, whatever, and you're laying down your own carpets, and it's kind of like an area control game with an element of luck because you do roll a die and the die determines which direction you're moving in and where you can lay down your carpet. And if you land on someone else's carpet, you'll end up owing them money, and whoever has the most like money at the end will win, and you're just basically going to count up how many of your carpet spaces are visible plus any money you have in your supply, and then whoever has the most points will win. So the old edition, let me just show you what the board and everything looked like. So in the old edition, this is what the board looked like, which I think I like the old edition board better, to be honest. I really like the simple, the look to it. It's quite simple. I like the colors. I think the color is really vibrant and beautiful. However, the rug colors are kind of ugly. So you have yellow. It's one of the rug colors. You have this like dark red color. And then you have this color, which I think is the nicest color, which is like a teal color. And then you have this ugly brown color. So those are the rug colors. And then I need to open up my new copy because, like I said, I mixed and matched the components between the two. So in the old edition, the money was wood. So in the old edition, the money are these nice wooden tokens. So the ones look like this, and again, wooden money, and the fives look like this with camels. And so this is the money in the old edition. And in the old edition, let me show you what the die and Assam look like. So in the old edition, actually, he's right here. So in the old edition, the die looks like this, and Assam looks like this. So he is wearing black and red. Okay, so those are the components for the old edition. Now the new edition, this is what, so let me just show you the inside of the box. So the old edition, it's like white, so that's fine. The new edition, it's blue, and the rug colors are really pretty. Absolutely love the rug colors in this edition. So you have yellow, just like in the old one, but I think this yellow seems like a little bit brighter. You have teal, just like in the old one, so really pretty. This red is not as dark. It's a more brighter red, which I really like. And then it comes with this really pretty, like purple magenta color, which I really like. So these are the rug colors in the new edition. And then in the new edition, let me show you the board. So here is the board in the new edition. So I'm not sure I like this. It's okay, actually. I mean, it's not terrible, but I think I like the old edition board better. I don't know. I kind of just really liked the bright orangey color in the old edition, but I decided to keep the new board for the new edition. So it looks more like a market. Like you can see the different kinds of like buildings on the side with their entrances. You can see people walking around. So it gives it more of a market feel. So for that reason, I decided to keep it. Oh, there's even a cat. Okay, now that I see a cat, I'm definitely keeping this one. Okay, I did not see the cat before, but there's a cat in the market right there. No way, right here. Yeah. Okay, so there's a cat. So this is the board for the new edition. And then the money in the new edition is cardboard. So, but really chunky, good cardboard. Like, in fact, I was kind of tempted to keep, but then in the end I decided to keep the wooden coins with the new edition. So in the new edition you get cardboard coins, but nice and chunky, like really thick, nice and chunky, like they're, yeah, pretty chunky. But I decided to swap out the coins between the old and the new so that I can keep the wooden coins with my new edition. And then let me show you Assam. So in the new edition, the die looks the same. So that's the die, just a different kind of darker wood. And then Assam is wearing blue to match the inside of the box. So Assam is wearing blue instead of black, which I like. I like his look better. So for me, what I did was I took the coins from the old edition, the wooden coins, and I just swapped out the coins basically, and that's what I did. So I'm keeping the wooden coins from the old edition with my new edition in the bag, and I am keeping the new Assam and the new die and the new red colors and the new board. So just swapping out the coins basically. And I'm going to give the old edition to my little sister since she likes this game, and we actually played, my family and I played a game of this not too long ago. And it's a game that was really easy for my mom to learn, and she got super into. She was super competitive. She's always very competitive when she plays games. So yeah, so I decided I would give away my old edition and keep the new one because I am kind of selfish like that, and I really like the new colors. so yeah, so I'm going to keep the new one because I absolutely love the colors. But of course, the only people I actually end up playing this game with is my family. Like, no one else is going to want to play Marrakech. It's like too simple of a game for like hobby gamers. So like no one, I'm not going to take this to game night. Like no one at game night would want to play this. So yeah, so it's a game that is like basically reserved to play with my family anyway, so they'll still get to experience the new edition just at my house, and we'll play with the old edition when I'm at like my mom or little sister's house or something like that. So that is my only other new arrival, new acquisition, and the reason I bought it was because it was actually 50% off. So my board game store was having a sidewalk sale. I think it was like 50 or 40% off. So, you know, it's pretty cheap, so that's why I bought it. So yeah, so those are my new arrivals. So let's go into games that I am backing, and I don't think I'm backing anything now because Apothecary, the campaign for that already ended, I believe. So let's see. So yeah, so the only thing I'm oh, actually I am backing something. So I guess I can ask your guys' opinion on this as well. So I am backing the new project from Bitewing Games, which is Iliad and Ichor, or is it Ichor? So they're 2-player strategy games from Rainer Knizia. And, you know, the reason I got sucked in is because the art is done by Weber and Santiago. So yeah, so Iliad is a tile placement strategy game for 2 players featuring powerful tile abilities and diverging victory objectives. And Ichor, or Ichor, I don't know how you pronounce it, is an asymmetric strategy game for 2 players featuring unique character powers and infinite setup variety. They look really cool. So far it's raised $137,000 with 1,763 backers, and it has 11 days to go. And I'm backing it at the all-in to get all of the upgrades. And I'm not going to make the same mistake that I made with Cascadera and Cascadito, where for whatever reason I backed at the all-in like edition and then still added on the deluxe components later thinking that they weren't included. So yeah, so I have extra deluxe components for those games, which is just, yeah. So if you still want to, you know, if you have Cascadera or Cascadito, like the retail edition, and you don't have the deluxe components and you want to buy them from me, I will happily sell them to you because I have extras. So yeah. So I don't want to make the same mistake there. So it is expensive, and I want to know what you guys think of it. Let me know if these are games that you are backing and why or why not, because as always, it might influence my decision because I am easily influenced by other people. So in terms of what to buy or what not to buy. I just want to double check because I'm pretty sure oh, actually, I'm wrong. Sorry. The art for Iliad is done by Harry Conway. Let me check up for each work because I was convinced that it was Weber and Santiago, but I guess I'm wrong. Oh, no, it's not Weber and Santiago for either of them. So I guess I, you know, don't feel as obliged to back them now. So the art for Ichor, or Ichor, is Tyler Miles Lockett. Oh, that's so funny. The art is similar. The style was kind of similar to what Weber and Santiago does. So that just goes to show you that a lot of artists do have similar styles, and you can't copyright styles. So just something to keep in mind. So yeah, so let me know if you guys are backing these games, why or why not. I do tend to play 2-player games. I have a pretty sizable collection of 2-player games. In fact, maybe I should do my top 10 favorite two-player games. I think I might do a video like that at some point. So yeah, so that's what I'm backing. And then I am still backing Ada's Dream at the pledge manager level. And let me just see when that ends. And Apothebakery already ended. So Apothebakery funded. So Ada's Dream has 3 days to go. So by the time you guys watch this, it'll have 2 days to go. So if you're interested in Ada's Dream, I'll leave a link below, and you'll have just 2 days left to check that out if you're interested. And it's raised over $162,000 so far, with around 2,200 backers right now. So yeah, so those are the games that I am backing. So let's move on. So let's go into updates. I guess the first update I'll talk about is FlagCon. I totally forgot to leave a link to FlagCon in the last video, so I'll make sure to do it in this video. So we've already had people start buying tickets, which is great. So if you want to buy a badge for all 3 days, I believe it's going to be only like $30 some. So a really great deal. So yeah, so definitely check out the link for FlagCon. And again, I'm sorry that I forgot to include a link in the last video, so I hope I'll remember to do it this time. I've made a note, so hopefully I will not forget. So yeah, so definitely come out to FlagCon. And yeah, I'm not sure actually if I'll be hosting any events this year. So, you know, we have a planning meeting every 2 weeks, and last year I actually hosted 3 events. I forgot about one of them. So I did Petrichor, I did Moon, and I did 3 Ring Circus. This year, a whole bunch of people who are not even planning the convention have volunteered to host events. So we already have a number of events already scheduled, like games and stuff like that. So it may not even be necessary for me to even host any events, which I guess would be great, because that would, you know, leave more time for me to play games with friends. I'll still have volunteering duties that I need to do, but hopefully I'll still have time to play games and stuff. So yeah, so check out the link for FlagCon, and I hope you guys will be able to make it. It would be really awesome. And if you want to play some games with me, this would be a great opportunity. So yeah, so that is the update on FlagCon. Cats update. So we actually got a feeding station for colony number 1, which I'm really excited about. So hoping to get a second feeding station for colony number 2. Someone in the local community very kindly built this feeding station and placed it in colony number 1. So super happy about that. It was really necessary in colony number 1. So I'm hoping that we'll get another one for colony number 1. I've even said that, you know, because I know that, you know, building materials are not cheap. So I said that I would try to raise funds if necessary to get another feeding station, because we need one more. So that's a good update for colony number 1. And at one point, you know, there was like even 7 kitties waiting for me. I think they're happy with the new feeding station. Colony number 2, working with the local rescue organization to trap some kittens. So it turns out, unfortunately, not all of the cats were spayed and neutered, because we discovered some kittens. So 3 of the kittens have been trapped already, and trying to trap the next 2 kittens. In fact, later today I might be assisting with helping to trap the remaining kittens in that colony. I had actually never seen them. I had seen a younger tortoise shell-haired cat who is not spayed or neutered, and I think it's a girl. And I think because I think most torties and calicos are female, if I'm remembering correctly. So she actually waits there for me and will meow for food. She's very sweet. So she's on the list to be trapped as well. But I never saw the smaller kittens, so I don't know. But luckily the rescue organization put up cameras and was able to spot them, so that's really good. So hopefully we will be able to trap the mother as well. So again, I'm going to hopefully assist with that later today, and learn how to trap, and so that I can start assisting with that more often. So yeah, so I guess those are the kitty updates. I guess I can give my own cat update for my own cats. So as I mentioned, or if you guys follow me on Instagram or are friends with me on Facebook, you would know that I have a gazebo in my backyard, which I've now turned into a cat zebo. So I built my cats a new cat tower, and I transferred the old cat tower into the gazebo, and I added a latch on the outside, so that way if my cat wants to stay in the gazebo longer and I don't want to stay there, he can be in there by himself, and there's no risk of him escaping. So my gazebo is fully screened, so there's no risk of him like jumping out and, you know, killing some wild birds or anything like that, because I get a ton of birds in my backyard because I have 3 bird feeders, and I get deer in my backyard as well. And other wildlife, like lots of squirrels and chipmunks and stuff like that. So Toffee has really been enjoying the gazebo, so he loves spending time in there. So really happy about that, because I don't have a catio. So this is basically the catio now. It's a gazebo. So far Zaytoon has not gotten out there because every time I try to take him out, he gets scared and then jumps out of my arms and runs back into the house somewhere. So he's a bit scared at the moment, but maybe one day when he realizes his brother keeps on going out there, he'll want to go out there too, who knows. But Toffee really loves it. So yeah, so now I have a gazebo, which I'm super happy about. What I would love to do, and I don't know if this is possible, is to like somehow build a tunnel from my living room window into the gazebo, because like it would need a bit of a long tunnel, but not like super duper long. But it would be super great if I could just open up my living room window and Toffee could just go there himself without me having to carry him there. Like, especially if he wants to go there in the winter time and I don't want to like go out there and walk in snow. I wonder if there's some way to do that, but I can't imagine how much that would cost. So not even going to think about that this year, but maybe next year it could be a project or something like that. Who knows? So yeah, so that is the cat update. So let's move on. So this section of the video is going to be a bit long because, you know, I do have some industry updates about Palestine and Zionism and all of that. So my most recent video on Board Game Geek was removed. So I uploaded my entire weekly playback for cities to the page for cities. And Board Game Geek moderator removed my video and suspended me from posting anything on Board Game Geek. So I am no longer allowed to post anything. I can't post photos, I can't post videos. I don't really participate much in forums, but I'm imagining I'm also suspended from posting in forums as well, since I can't post anything else. So yeah, so the reason I was given for being suspended is because apparently my video was attacking other people. Now, what did I say in the last video? I basically called out Helena Kappel and Kids Table Board Gaming and Burnt Island Games for being Zionist, because that's what they are. They are Zionists. And then I called out Our Family Plays Games for accepting blood money. That is money from Zionist publishers. Which they do. So they accept money from Kids Table Board Gaming. They are sponsored by Kids Table Board Gaming, and Kids Table Board Gaming is a known Zionist publisher. And how do we know that they're Zionist? Based on their statements and support for Israel back in 2021. And again, if you have any questions about that, you can listen to the recording, which is still available. So I recorded a conversation between me and Helena Kappel, the owner of Burnt Island Games and Kids Table Board Gaming, and made that publicly available for anyone to listen to, because people did not believe me when I basically said that, yeah, Helena Kappel doesn't want me to review a game because I support Palestine. People didn't believe me, so I released the recording. And then after I released the recording, in order to detract from Helena Kappel being a Zionist, I was then labeled dangerous, and all of her, you know, being a Zionist and not caring about Palestinian children was just brushed under the rug. So no one in the end cared that Helena Kappel could not explain what the difference between Black Lives Matter is and Palestinian Lives Matter. She could not explain why saying Palestinian Lives Matter is political, but saying Black Lives Matter is not, because she had Black Lives Matter on her own website for her companies. And she supports a Black content creator because she wants to, you know, show that she supports diversity. So, you know, when I released the recording, I was labeled as dangerous in order to shut me up, and so that they could continue supporting their Zionist publisher friend. So what did I say that is a personal attack? Like, which of those statements is a personal attack? Is pointing out the fact that Helena Kappel is a Zionist, is that a personal attack? And is calling someone a Zionist in Board Game Geek's eyes, in their view, a personal attack? Because, you know, it seems like they support Zionism, so it would be no different than me saying, oh, Helena Kappel is white, because she is white. So, you know, I'm calling her a Zionist because she is Zionist. So how is that a personal attack? I don't know, is saying that Our Family Plays Games accepts blood money. Is that a personal attack? It's my opinion that they're accepting blood money. It's my opinion that any money that comes from Zionists is blood money, because Zionists have blood on their hands. If you are a Zionist, you have Palestinian blood on your hands. And if you are accepting funds from a Zionist, then that is blood money. Like, that is the definition of blood money. Blood money is when you are accepting money that comes from the oppression and subjugation and killing whatever of another group of people. And Zionist money, that is what Zionist money is. So Our Family Plays Games does accept blood money. So Our Family Plays Games recently, has liked certain tweets about Palestine. They retweeted a tweet on their Twitter account recently. So recently, this account called Crit Awards. So the Creator Recognition in Tabletop Role-Playing Games Awards is a peer-driven award show striving to recognize creators in an inclusive and positive way. So the Crit Awards was going to have an award ceremony at Gen Con. However, due to Crit Awards being openly anti-Zionist, they are no longer going to Gen Con. So they released a statement back on June 24th saying, "This is extremely difficult on us as we navigate the situation that we are finding ourselves in. Updates as to what any physical event will look like will come at a later date. Until then," and they released a statement. They said, "Due to recent events and the attention that we have received for being anti-Zionist, it is with an extremely heavy heart and much disappointment that the Crit Awards will be unable to return to Gen Con for its 2024 event due to safety concerns. With this said, we will be continuing forward with a virtual event as we evaluate how we will be moving forward with the celebration of the amazing creators and phenomenal community members in the TTRPG scene. Tickets purchased for the Gen Con event will be refunded. We encourage any of our nominees who wish to remove their participation in any capacity to reach out, as we understand the situation can be extremely mentally taxing and difficult in ways that may be unexpected. Voting will remain open until July 7th. We want to take this moment to reaffirm our stance that hate in any capacity will not be tolerated by any individual or groups within our event. We ask for patience as we come to terms with the situation and want to thank the community for the outpouring of support and positivity. I can never fully express what it means to both myself and the entire Crit Awards team." And then it's signed Ivy and the Crit Awards board. So the Crit Awards had made statements before stating that Zionists are not welcome because they want an inclusive space. They want a space that is inclusive of everyone and that does not support apartheid, that does not support the subjugation of another people, that does not support the occupation of another people, that does not support the killing of another people. However, because the board game industry is pro-Zionist, that is pro-genocide, anything seen as anti-Zionist is seen as anti-Semitic, which is not the case at all. Anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism are not the same thing. They are not the same thing. There are hundreds of thousands of Jews in this world who are anti-Zionist. And yes, you have Jews who are pro-Zionist who will call the anti-Zionist Jews self-hating Jews. You will see that in Jewish communities. That is an issue that is happening in Jewish communities. Like several of the anti-Zionist Jews that I follow on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and elsewhere get a lot of hate from pro-Zionist Jews who are just filled with a lot of hate and because they are just hateful people in general. Like Zionism is an ideology that is rooted in the occupation of a land. It is rooted in oppression. It is rooted in violence. It is rooted in all of these things. I'm not here to regurgitate history. If you want to learn the history, it is there for you to learn. There are books you can read. There are audiobooks you can listen to if you don't want to read books. So if you would rather listen, you can listen to, the 100 Years Palestine book by Rashid Khalidi. There are so many books you can listen to and learn about Zionism and the history of Palestine. So the Crit Awards was openly anti-Zionist, and as a result, they are no longer going to Gen Con. So in return, a number of creators made posts retweeting the statement, expressing their support for Crit Awards, expressing their anger at Gen Con for not allowing Crit Awards to take place because of their anti-Zionist stance, and just reaffirming that they are pro-Palestinian and anti-Zionist. Did anyone in the board game industry say anything about Gen Con and Crit Awards and, you know, the whole Zionism thing? No, like dead silence about this whole Gen Con thing. Yeah, you know, when you had, you know, Roe versus Wade turned over and people complaining about how Gen Con is still taking place in Indiana, in a state that doesn't allow abortion and this and that and blah, 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 like women's rights, going on and on about that. Like, that is a concern for people. You know, other things are still a concern for people, but genocide is not a concern for people. Like, so when it comes to the board game industry still supporting genocide, the people who claim to be the most vocal in this industry for diversity, equity, and inclusion are still dead silent. Like, you don't see Eric Lang or Suzanne Sheldon or Rodney Smith or any of their minions talking about how this industry is pro-Zionist, because they themselves benefit from Zionism. So if you are someone who's benefiting from Zionism, then you are part of the oppressor. You are not standing up for diversity, equity, and inclusion like you claim to. So if you are still silent because you are benefiting from Zionist publishers and creators and designers, and you don't want to raise your voice against this ideology rooted in all things evil, like, what does that make you? That makes you a fucking sellout. It makes you a shill. Like, that's what that makes you. It makes you a hypocrite in so many ways. But that's what this industry is. So in the TTRPG community, you see so many people speaking out against Gen Con and speaking out against this decision and expressing their support for Crit Awards, but in the board game industry, dead silence. For an industry with people who claim to be so woke and all about human rights, like, they are still supporting an ideology that is rooted in oppression and rooted in occupation and rooted in subjugation. There is a reason that, you know, Nelson Mandela and, you know, all these other people in South Africa who fought against apartheid are anti-Zionist. Like, they, like, look up statements by these people. There are so many statements talking about the evil that Zionism is, talking about the evil that Israel is, and their descendants are anti-Zionist and fighting for a free Palestine. Yet you have people in the board game industry who claim to be all about diversity, equity, and inclusion, still dead silence about this ideology that is rooted in all things evil. Yet, you know, these are the champions of diversity, equity, and inclusion in this industry. Like, what? So I got banned from posting on Board Game Geek, and, you know, no one cares, obviously, because I'm just a small fish with one voice in this industry that no one gives a shit about. Like, you know, and I was silenced in 2021 for being anti-Zionist and pro-Palestinian, and these people continue to be hypocrites, and I'm going to call them out. I'm going to continue calling them out because that's what they are. And someday, if, you know, they decide it's cool to be anti-Zionist and start speaking up against Zionism, I will remind them how they were dead silent in 2021 about Zionism and how they continue to support their Zionist publishers and designers and friends, and how they were dead silent during a genocide and continue to support their Zionist publishers and designers and creator friends. Because it's sickening. It's really, really sickening that people look up to these people as being the champions of diversity, equity, and inclusion when they are absolutely not. I think the reason that these people hate me so much is because I do call them out on their bullshit. I am someone who believes in the things that they believe in, but actually takes action. So, like, for example, you know, for many years, I was an attorney in social justice. I was a legal aid attorney fighting to keep people housed and fighting against evictions. And now I actually work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion field. I'm not going to state where I work, who my employer is. I work from home, but I have a really good job now, and I work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion field. So these people can criticize me all they want, but I actually put actions to my words time and time and time again, and that's what I do. That's because integrity is important to me. But what do these people do? Like, I would like to know, aside from, expressing fake concern for Palestinians by raising some money while staying dead silent about the root causes of Palestinian oppression and the reason that Palestinians are being killed, what have they done? Like, yes, they raised a couple $1,000s, but aside from that, what have they done? Nothing, like literally nothing. Like, they stay silent about the root causes of Palestinian suffering. So, I'm really happy that Crit Awards is very vocal about being anti-Zionist, but very disappointed in the board game industry. So I made a post recently and I'm going to talk about a couple things. So I made a post on Twitter, on Instagram, and on my YouTube page about how I was banned from posting on Board Game Geek. And someone by the name of Seth Wiseman, although on YouTube he goes by Seth Winslow or something like that, but his name is Seth Wiseman. So he responded to my YouTube post and said that I was basically being anti-Semitic for calling Quackalope a Zionist, for calling out Quackalope. And I was like, no, because he said I was doing that just because Quackalope is Jewish. No, there are countless Jewish people in this industry. Why haven't I called out every single Jewish person then that I know in this industry? Why just Quackalope? Because Quackalope has spouted Zionist, propaganda. He has literally promoted Zionist people on his YouTube page, and he follows Zionist people on his Instagram. So Quackalope has a personal Instagram page called A Jewish Take. If you look at who he is following some of the most hateful Zionists that there are. He is following people like Ben Shapiro. He is following people like Manis Friedman. He is following people like Miam Bialik. Like, he is following people like Noah Tishby. He is following some of the most hateful, disgusting Zionists in existence. Manis Friedman made statements about how all Palestinian babies deserve to be killed because they're all gonna grow up to be terrorists. Is that someone you should be promoting? I would just like to know, is that the kind of person you want to be promoting? Someone who says that all babies should be killed because they're all terrorists, basically? Babies. He is talking about babies, killing innocent babies. So those are the kind of people that Quackalope promotes. Yet this person, Seth Wiseman, decided that I'm anti-Semitic because I called out Quackalope for following these people. Like, no, fucking do your research. Like, do some research into Quackalope, do some research into who he promotes, and then maybe say something. But no, I am not anti-Semitic. I'm not calling out Quackalope because he's Jewish. I'm calling him out because he is a Zionist piece of crap. And all Zionists believe in hate. All Zionists do not have empathy for the suffering Palestinians. Have you ever seen any Zionist, any hardcore Zionist express true empathy for the Palestinians who are being killed in this genocide? No. Show that to me. Like, seriously, show me a Zionist who's a hardcore Zionist, saying, yes, the genocide needs to stop. None of them are calling for the genocide to end. None of them. They are continuing to say, finish them all. Just finish them all. Just kill all the Palestinians. We've already seen time and time again all of the proof that is needed to show that genocide was always the intent. Genocide has always been the intent. I talked about in my last video how Netanyahu basically stated that they are going to start building settlements in Gaza. Gaza does not belong to them. Palestine does not belong to them. Israel does not belong to them. They just took it over because, some people decided that it's theirs now. Seriously, I just don't know what to say anymore. So no, I am not anti-Semitic. I'm anti-Zionist, and I call out Quackalope because of the disgusting people he follows. So that is why I called out Quackalope, not because he's Jewish. There are plenty of Jewish people in this industry. I called out Quackalope for the disgusting people that he promotes and wants other people in this industry to follow. I called out Isaac Shalev because of the tweets he's made, the Zionist tweets, and his support for the terrorist state of Israel. So he is a Zionist. He has openly tweeted stuff in support of Israel, has openly tweeted his, disgusting views that the industry supports and is silent on. So, when it comes to Black Lives Matter, silence is complicity. When it comes to Zionism, silence is complicity goes out the window. Like these people like Eric Lang and Rodney Smith and Suzanne Sheldon, who would be all about silence is complicity when it comes to women's rights and Black lives, and trans rights are dead silent when it comes to Zionism. Someone said in a comment recently that, maybe I would stop talking about it so much if these people apologized to me for basically calling me dangerous in 2021 when I was on the right side of history, when I was calling out a Zionist publisher and they didn't want their friends called out. No, these people are never going to apologize. These are the same kinds of people who love to call out other people, but the same rules do not apply to them. They are the same kinds of people. These are the people who will say, if you do something wrong, you need to publicly apologize. You need to be shamed in public. And then we as a community get to decide whether or not to accept your apology. However, when these people are on the wrong side of history, when they do something wrong, they will never call out each other publicly. They will never apologize for being on the wrong side of history. So in 2021, when Eric Lang made his shitty takes on Palestine, because apparently being a Black creator who has had a couple of successful games in the industry makes him an expert on everything. So Eric Lang feels entitled to give his opinion on everything. So he gave his opinion on the Palestine-Israel conflict back in 2021 when Israel was attacking and killing countless Palestinians yet again, like it always does. So he had a really shitty take, which I called him out on. Did he apologize? No. Did he at any point say, hey guys, you know what? Maybe I should step back and not give my opinion on stuff which I don't know shit about? Did he say that? No, he did not. Eric Lang is, like, as I said before, one of the most pompous people in this industry. Like, I cannot think of anyone more pompous. Like, the guy has a couple of games which are acclaimed and he thinks he's an expert on everything in this industry. I do not claim to be an expert on stuff which I know nothing about. I am not going to start all of a sudden talking about, like, for example, the history of Iceland. I don't know Iceland. I know nothing about Iceland. Am I going to suddenly claim to be an expert on Iceland if there's a conflict in Iceland and give my 2 cents on it? No, because I don't know shit about Iceland. So if you don't know shit about something, keep your mouth fucking shut instead of saying something which is going to show support for the oppressor, which is exactly what Eric Lang did. Every time Eric Lang fucking opens his mouth about Israel and Palestine, he is showing support for the oppressor. He shows his support for the occupation and apartheid. He does not speak up against the genocide. He has at no point called for a ceasefire. He has at no point said that Zionism is rooted in evil and is rooted in the occupation of a group of people, is rooted in oppression. He doesn't talk about that because he doesn't know shit about it. Or if he knows shit about it, he's a fucking sellout and a shill. So at least people don't apologize. Eric Lang did not apologize when he whataboutismed me, when I said to Eric Lang, like, hello, like, you're wrong about what you're saying. And what did he come back with? The first thing he came back with was, oh, do you speak up about, the Uyghurs? Do you speak up about the Rohingya? Do you speak up about them? And I was like, yeah, actually, Eric, I do. I'm a Muslim. I don't think he knew I was Muslim at the time. And I'm a Muslim who actually cares a lot about Muslims being killed and, facing genocide anywhere in the world. But did he apologize for his whataboutisms? No. Yet, if someone did that to him about Black Lives Matter, what do you think the reaction would be? That person would be called out and they would be shunned and expelled from the industry. So no, the same fucking rules do not apply to these people. These people do not apologize. They do not take accountability. They do not hold each other accountable for when it comes to supporting an oppressive regime and when it comes to supporting an ideology rooted in racism, rooted in oppression. They do not call each other out for that. They continue to support this genocide by remaining silent. So I posted about it on Instagram as well. And I had, over 200 people like my post. I want to know how many of those people are going to write to Board Game Geek or Gen Con and say, hey, we do not support your support for Zionism. How many people are actually going to do that? I can guarantee you, like, no one. Like, maybe 1 or maybe 2 people might say something, but the vast majority are silent. People do not want to speak up. People do not speak up about this. I previously, many videos ago, I talked about this Palestinian creator and this industry content creator who also happens to be trans. So they recently invited the designer of Creature Comforts to talk about resistance and creating games about resistance on their Instagram channel. I didn't watch that because I, out of principle, am not going to watch an interview that is, this designer of Creature Comforts is giving, because even if it's on a Palestinian creator's channel, because her games are published by a Zionist publisher. She is supporting Zionism. Now, do you think that this Palestinian creator brought up the uncomfortable topic of Zionism with this designer and said, hey, we're talking about games and resistance in games and all of that, but like, why do you go to a Zionist publisher? Like, why are your games published by a Zionist? Why are you funding the genocide of Palestinians? I highly doubt she brought it up. Like, I didn't watch the interview, but if someone did, if someone wants to go to this creator's page and watch it and let me know if she brought up the uncomfortable topic of Zionism and why this creator, why this designer, why her games are published by a Zionist publisher, I would love to know if she brought up that topic and what this designer said in response to that. Because I guarantee you it probably wasn't brought up. No one calls out the people that they are supposedly woke people in this industry. Like, so, this designer of Creature Comforts supposedly woke, just like supposedly like Suzanne Sheldon and Rodney Smith and Eric Lang. All these people are supposedly woke, yet woke people, actual woke people in the world, are anti-Zionist. Yet in this industry, dead silence about Zionism. It's just very infuriating to be like the only voice who is speaking up against Zionism, while everyone else who claims to be about diversity, equity, and inclusion, who claims to be about human rights, is dead silent. There was another creator who is Muslim and South Asian, who has a large following on Instagram, who liked my post. Very early on in the genocide, I reached out to him because he had liked posts by a certain Zionist on Instagram, and I called him out for that. So then he unliked the post. And then he has openly promoted games from Kids Table Board Gaming and Burnt Island Games. He did a live Instagram video thing with Zionist creators, people who on their page were supporting the ongoing genocide. And now here he is liking my post about me talking about how this industry is pro-Zionist. Like, where is the fucking integrity? I would like to know where the fucking integrity is. Does no one in this industry have integrity? Like, seriously, where has the integrity gone? Like, you are supposedly liking my post and showing me support for being banned from posting on Board Game Geek for calling out Zionism, yet you yourself are a fucking coward who has not once posted about Palestine on your Instagram page. And when I asked him about that in personal messages, he said he keeps it separate. Like, he's going to only talk about Palestine in his own personal pages, not on his board game page. Yet you will see non-Muslim content creators talk about Palestine, but not him, because God forbid it affects his, profits, it affects the amount of games he receives. Like, he is a pretty, I would say a large creator on Instagram. He has over, I think, 8,000 followers on Instagram. Something like that. The only time he mentioned Palestine is when he did a giveaway that was related to the fundraiser for Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. So he did a giveaway in support of that because it was safe for him to do. Now he sees, okay, wow, like these other people in the industry are doing a fundraiser for Palestinian children. So I guess I can participate in that. Whereas otherwise, absolute dead silence about Palestine and the genocide. Like, I'm sorry, but Muslims like that make me sick. Like, Muslims who put profits before their fellow humans make me sick. Like, as a Muslim, you are supposed to care about humanity. As a Muslim, you are supposed to show support for the oppressed, regardless of religion, regardless of ethnicity. Like, Islam talks a lot about how we are all human. And that's why when Muslims go on pilgrimage to Mecca, they are supposed to all dress the same, because we are all the same before God's eyes. Like, no one is better than another person based on their ethnicity, what language they speak, what they look like. nothing. How much money you have. Like, you're not supposed to be wearing any jewelry or anything like that when you go on pilgrimage in Mecca, because you are the same before God. You are supposed to humble yourself before God, and we are all the same. So when I see Muslims not supporting their suffering Muslims in a genocide, like, it makes me sick. Like, I think, like, what a fucking shill and hypocrite and sellout you are. So yeah, so all these people who liked my post on Instagram but remain silent, like, why? I just want to know why. Like, why am I the only one speaking out against Zionism? Like, why is it just me? Why is no one else speaking up against Zionism in this industry? Like, why is it that in the TTRPG industry, you have people supporting crit awards and talking about how they're going to boycott Gen Con for, being pro-Zionist, yet in the board game industry, there's no talk about boycotting Gen Con for being pro-Zionist. There's no talk about boycotting Board Game Geek for being pro-Zionist. Why? Why is there this silence about Zionism in this industry? Like, does Zionism have that much of a control on you people that you literally cannot, like, use your critical thinking skills to understand what Zionism is? And there is no excuse for ignorance. It's been 9 months of this genocide. And 2021 was 3 fucking years ago. So you've had 3 years since the last time, there was an Israel-Palestine issue in this industry to learn about the history of Palestine, to learn about what Zionism is. Ignorance is no fucking excuse. That especially goes for people like Eric Lang. Like, 3 years ago, he had a shitty take on Israel and Palestine. This year, he had a shitty take on Israel and Palestine. Well, not this year, technically last year in October. So if you scroll back on Eric Lang's Facebook page, he again had a take on Israel and Palestine where he completely missed the mark, and there is a Palestinian who responded to his post, which he ignored. He ignored the Palestinian's comment, did not respond to it. And that Palestinian person used to be a board gamer. She used to be an avid board gamer, and after talking to her in private message, she said that she is sick of this industry and how pro-Zionist and pro-Israel it is, and it turned her away from board gaming. I mean, these are the people you are turning away. For all of you people who claim to care about diversity and equity and inclusion and all of that bullshit that you claim to care about, you are turning away Palestinians by supporting your Zionist friends, by supporting an ideology that is rooted in oppression and apartheid and all evil things, which you would be against if it applied to Black people. But because it applies to Arabs and Muslims, who the F cares? Like, I just am so sick of this industry, and I'm so sick of being the lone voice speaking up against Zionism. Speak up, people. Like, this industry is not going to change. This industry is going to continue being pro-Zionist unless more people speak up and make it normalized to speak up against oppression, to make it normalized to speak up against apartheid in Palestine. I'm just, these people are just fucking hypocrites. They're shells, they're sellouts. That's what they really are. And you know why they never respond to me? Because they know I'm right. Like, they know I'm right. Like, what could they possibly say at this point to justify their silence? What could they say at this point to justify supporting Zionist publishers and designers? And yeah, what could they say? There's nothing they could say that justifies that at this point in time. And they're never going to apologize to me. They don't believe in accountability for themselves. Accountability applies to everyone else, not to them. Just remember that. Anytime one of them does something wrong, there will never be an apology. There will never be a public shaming, nothing like that. Those rules apply to everyone else. Those rules do not apply to them. So yeah, so that is what this industry is like. This industry is bullshit. Having said all of that, if you are someone who supports my content, I am now banned from posting on Board Game Geek. And admittedly, that is where, my videos would get some views from people who don't already follow me. And from having made the statements that I did on Instagram and YouTube recently, I lost a lot of subscribers and followers. So I've lost over 30 subscribers on YouTube, and I lost over 30 followers on Instagram. You might think 30 is not a lot. For a small channel like me, it is. So I had, I was excited because I was like, I had finally reached 6,200 subscribers on YouTube, and then I watched it drop to 6,100, like 70 something. And I was like, okay, you know, I guess I lost 30 some Zionist people, so whatever, goodbye, who cares, you're a Zionist. And then I lost 30 some followers on Instagram. So if you are someone who supports my content, I can no longer post it on Board Game Geek. So if you like my content, I would ask you to share it. I'm going to be more regular about posting my content on my Facebook page. So if you're not following me on Facebook, please make sure to follow and like Board Games in a Minute on Facebook. So I will try to be more regular about posting my content there, and posting my content on Instagram, like posting links to my YouTube videos and so on. So if you are a fan of my content, please share it, because I can't share it anymore. I can't share it on YouTube and or Board Game Geek rather, and get the word out about my videos. Especially my how to plays and stuff like that. Maybe I should have, you know, separated the segment of how to play cities and uploaded that alone, and then it wouldn't have gotten taken down and I wouldn't have been banned from posting on Board Game Geek. But as you guys know, I have a full-time job and I'm super busy. Like, I literally am just busy all the time. And if I'm not busy, I'm just tired. Like, I'm watching TV or just trying to relax. Because, you know, I spend like an hour or more of my day taking care of stray cats. I have my own cats. I have a full-time job, which actually sometimes I have to work outside of work as well, because I have a really like demanding job. So yeah, so I'm busy. So like, you know, when I spend like an hour or more creating a video, like I don't want to spend more time making another thumbnail and making another separate video to upload a segment by itself on a page. Maybe I should have done that. At one point I said I was going to do that, but it just takes more time, which, you know, honestly, I just don't have. So maybe I should try to do that, but at this point, I guess it doesn't matter because I've been banned from posting videos there anyway now. So if you are a supporter of my content, I ask you to please share my videos with your followers if you will, you know, if you would like to support my content. That would be one way to support it. So that is my super long rant on this genocidal pro-Zionist industry, the board game industry. So let's move on. So this week I have two questions of the week. The first question of the week is, what game do you love but would not recommend at a certain player count that is written on the box? So I absolutely love Cities, but I cannot recommend this at 2 players. At 2 players, it's just not as tight a game. There's not as much, you know, tension in the game. It's not as competitive, so I cannot recommend this at 2 players. Haven't played it at 3, but at 4 it was really, really great. So yeah, I absolutely love this game at 4 players, and I would really like to play this again at 4 players, but cannot recommend it at 2. It's still playable at 2, it's still kind of fun at 2, but it's definitely way more fun and way more competitive at 4 players. So what game do you love that has a player count that you would not recommend that game at? And please do share the player counts as well, and which player count you would not recommend it at. The second question of the week is, what is your favorite dog themed game? So the only dog themed games I can think of that I own are Forever Home and Dog Park by the same publisher. Now, Dog Park is a game that I paid for all on my own. It's not a review copy, and I've criticized that game several times. It definitely has stuff that can be improved in that game, I think. But I love that game because it has beautiful dog artwork, and it's really just a beautiful game. Whereas there's not as much dog artwork to appreciate in this game. So that's the first question. What's your favorite dog themed game? And then a question to go along with that is, what is your favorite breed of dog? Of course, I am an advocate for rescuing animals from shelters, but we all have favorites. So my favorite breed of dog is the Samoyed. I absolutely love Samoyeds, like so freaking much. Like, Samoyeds are just so cuddly. They're like big floofy clouds. I love them so freaking much. Whenever I see a person with a Samoyed, I have to stop them and pet their dog and love on their dog and then ask them like a billion questions about their dog. Like, I am just so crazy about Samoyeds. They are just seriously the best. And then my second favorite breed of dog, I guess, is Husky. I really love Huskies, but really hard to say. There are just so many dogs I love. Like, there's just so many dogs that I love, and cats. But yeah, so tell me what your favorite dog themed game is and what your favorite breed of dog is. And until next week, bye.